knocking that. We built a tremendous thing here in this land. The American farmer worked hard. He did his job. The American factory worker did his job. The American office worker. Everybody did their job. Everybody did a great job. But we've had about how long has it been? We've had almost 50 years since the Supreme Court has thrown prayer out of our public school system. We've had nearly 40 years of abortion in this country. Okay, legalized, government sanctioned, and in some cases government paid for abortion. We've had that going on for since around 1972, 1973, somewhere around in there. We've seen a decline since then in our morality. We've seen a decline in just about everything else, and now we're seeing a decline in what was a very, very strong thing for our country, and that was our economy. And again, if you have not seen that particular Watchman broadcast, I encourage you to watch it, because the biblical ramifications of this, they're there. God prophesied this. He said it in Deuteronomy chapter 28. He talked about it. He warned us that if we turned away from His laws, His morality, His guidelines, His statutes, if we did all these things, that there would be a price to pay for it. He would no longer bless our nation. He would curse our nation. And we're seeing those curses in place right now. We're seeing those curses become effective. And God is not done, because America is not done. America is not listening to God. They're not listening to the preachers. The preachers aren't listening to the Bible. And so therein you go wrong. And when we have all of these things against us as a nation, the nation absolutely, it will not stand. It will not last. And I don't know, I'm not a date setter. I don't know how long it's going to be. I don't know what's going to, if it's going to be a year from now, 5 years from now. And I'll just be honest with you, I'm not on the 2012 bandwagon. I am not looking to the Mayan calendar for prophetic utterances. In fact, I'm going to preach against things like that this weekend at our homecoming services. I've pretty much settled on what I'll be talking about. We will be recording the services. We will be broadcasting the services live. We will be distributing them. I plan on the seminars that I am doing this weekend will be part of, will encompass the Watchman video broadcast for next week. And I've just put together some things in commemoration of the 400th anniversary of the King James Bible. And I'm going to be teaching about the book. I'm going to be teaching about the Scriptures, what the Bible says about it. I'm going to be talking about the history of the King James Bible. And I had an idea last night at dinner, and I put that together this morning, is what happens when the Bible is taken out of a church, a denomination, a Bible college, a seminary, a family, or a nation. But specifically in the church, what happens when there is a void that the Bible used to fill? And I put some things together there, and it's not going to make everybody happy. Okay, that's just how it is in our line of work. When you're a watchman and you see the sword coming and you blow the trumpet and it's 4 o'clock in the morning and people are going, "Shut that thing up! We're trying to sleep in here." Okay, not everybody's happy that you're standing outside their window at 4 o'clock in the morning blowing a trumpet. And they just, so not everybody's going to be happy with it, but I'd like to stick to Scriptures. So anyway, if you are planning on attending our homecoming, we welcome you here. We are having some wonderful food. My sister is preparing pulled pork. Somebody asked me what that is. That is pork tenderloin, and it is slow smoked with a spicy rub on the outside of it. It is slow smoked, and it is absolutely, it's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. I can't wait. So anyway, pieces of paper. We have pieces of paper here that I want to go through, and then we'll do our UFO video du jour. And by the way, if you want to get in touch with us during this live broadcast, there are two ways here. Number one, if you are on the Watchman community, and I see some people there. There's Ariel, Becky, Jeffers, Jeremiah 33, Jill, John, Ricky. It sounds like they're all the Duggar families. Jeffers, Jeremiah, and Jill, and John. But anyway, they're all online, and I say hello to them. Or you can go to PastorMikeOnline.com, which is probably where you are, and you can fill out the little box there at the bottom. And I do see that C.E. Smith says, I can see you now. Okay, well, I can't see you, C.E., but anyway, it's good to have you with us today. Let me read some pieces of paper that we have here. This is some interesting stuff. It doesn't quite make it into the Watchman video broadcast, so we're going to put it here. And this is a cute one. This has a puppy paw attached with it. This says, South Korean scientists create glowing dog. South Korean scientists said on Wednesday they have created a glowing dog using a cloning technique that could help find cures for human diseases such as Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. Now the question that I have is, what does glowing have to do with helping people with Alzheimer's? I mean, I can see, when you get Alzheimer's, every now and then somebody walks off with Alzheimer's and nobody knows where they are, so are you going to make them glow or what? But anyway, a research team from Seoul National University said the genetically modified female beagle named Tigon, and born in 2009, has been found to glow fluorescent green under ultraviolet light if given doxycycline antibiotic, the report said. The researchers, who completed a 2-year test, said the ability to glow can be turned on or off by adding a drug to the dog's food. That's all we need. There's just more drugs in our food. The creation of Tigon opens new horizons, since the gene injected to make the dog glow can be substituted with genes that trigger fatal human diseases. The news agency quoted lead researcher Lee Byung-chung as saying, he said the dog was created, that's an interesting term, the dog was created using the somatic cell nuclear transfer technology that the university team used to make the world's first cloned dog, Snuppy, in 2005. Now, here's the rest of the picture. Here is before, and here is after. The dog's paw is growing. Now, the only thing on a dog that I think should glow is doggy doo. I think doggy doo should glow. Because if you have a doggy and the doggy doo's in your house in the middle of the night, you would be able to see it as you were on your way to the refrigerator at 2 o'clock in the morning to get a glass of milk. And so anyway, here is another. This is actually from Jill. Thank you, Jill. This is an article saying the DNA mixing of mice and men and goats. Researchers in China have made news by mixing the stem cells of humans with goats in the name of medical research. And they're not the only ones playing with DNA like modeling clay. Think about it. Think about it. Let me stop right here. Interesting choice of words. It said, let me read it again. Researchers in China have made news by mixing the stem cells of humans with goats in the name of medical research. And they're not the only ones playing with DNA like modeling clay. Humans and goats. Now, I actually dealt with something like this in the Watchman video broadcast. When was it? April or May? One of the two. And I called it the birth of Baphomet. Baphomet has been born. Baphomet is the part human, part goat. His hands are doing this, okay, this thing here. He is the androgynous God, which I'm going to be dealing with this weekend because there's a new Bible, the Common English Bible, that refers to the Son of Man, uses the phrase Son of Man, and it replaces the phrase Son of Man with the human one. Now you say, well, that's not what it says. Well, no, it's not what it says, but they've replaced it with the phrase human one. Now you say, what's the big deal about that, Pastor Mike? Well, I'm glad you asked, and I'm going to tell you what the big deal is. The big deal is that the phrase Son of Man has two masculine nouns in it. Son and man. Okay? Not daughter of woman. Son and man. Two masculine nouns in there. Because according to the Bible that I have, according to recently published reports in the King James Bible, ancient documents, God is masculine. Okay? That's who He is. And it's interesting that when you stop and think about it, a lot of praise and worship songs that are being written now refer to God as you. Hey, you. You know, that's what you say when you walk up to somebody and they recognize you and they say, hey, Mike, how you doing? I say, hey, you. I don't know who they are. But you is gender neutral. Okay? And the human one is gender neutral. It does not have a gender implied in it. Are you making too much of this? No, I'm not. Because they've scrapped the old NIV Bible for the gender neutral NIV. The TNIV now becomes the NIV today. And so anyway, so Baphomet is that half human, half goat, half male, half female, half up, half down, half dissolved, half coagulated. It's all those halves. It's all those things there. And then it mentioned about, let's see here. Where did the story go? They're not the only ones playing with DNA like modeling clay. Interesting statement there. In Daniel chapter, let's read it. Daniel chapter 2. Let's do a little scriptural exegesis here. And no, I didn't say Jesus. Exegesis. We're going to dissect the scriptures. Daniel chapter 2. We have Nebuchadnezzar's dream. He can't even remember the dream, much less give an interpretation of it. Neither can his magicians and astrologers and soothsayers. They don't have a clue what he's talking about. And then Daniel comes along, not only reminds him of the dream, but he also gives the interpretation of the dream. And if you want to see that as like a picture of the Old Testament, New Testament, that's what it is. But anyway, here we have the fourth kingdom, which is the kingdom of iron mixed with clay. And he says in verse 43 of Daniel chapter 2, and whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, think about that, they, that fourth kingdom, shall mingle themselves with the seed of men. If you just want to do a study in the Bible, study the word seed, okay? It's a really, really neat word, but seed is the Bible word for deoxyribonucleic acid, okay? That's the word for it. Words like generations or generation, that has the word gene in it, and it has that for a reason. But the word seed in the Bible, whether it's like, corn seed or whatever, it is the Bible term for DNA. So here it is. If we read it this way, they shall mingle themselves with the DNA of men, molding the clay in a different image. God said He was the potter, not Harry. You follow me? Okay? And you stop and think about this. God is the potter. Okay? And this Bible takes this old lump of clay and molds me and fashions me in the image of God. What does the other potter, whose name is Harry, do? He takes all these young people and molds them and fashions them in a different image other than the image of Almighty God. And here we have, and I actually have it in the queue. I haven't got to it yet. But one of the things I've been meaning to include in a Watchman broadcast was some things, this last Harry Potter movie that just came out, and they're talking about how once you get